Hi everybody, welcome to the first lecture of ATI140 Indigenous Land and Resources. What I'm going to do today is sort of just a bit of an icebreaker. I'm going to spend a few minutes just talking about the assessments and talking about the readings and what I require of you each week. Assessment 1 is worth 30% of your final grade. Your task is to describe and explain Australian Indigenous peoples' historical and contemporary connections to land and sea resources. Then you need to explain how you think settler discourses associated with colonisation have affected these connections to country. So you will need to stay abreast of the weekly readings and will also need to read a little bit more widely. You will need to make sure you answer both parts of the question. That is very important. You must ensure that you attach a cover sheet with your current email address. So this way, when I have marked it, I have somewhere to send it. Okay? If you don't put your current email address, I have to go through and search in a completely different computer system to find you and then get out of that system and email you your essay. I don't want to spend the semester finding people's email addresses, so please put them on there. If your current email address is not on the cover sheet, I will not mark the essay. So you must include page numbers. You must include a list of references. I do not want a bibliography with a list of 100 things that do not appear in the essay. So I only want a list of references with the references that you've actually used in the paper. You must ensure that you take pride in your work, and you must ensure that your sentences are well connected and are clear to the reader. Okay, so if they are clear to you, that is not good enough. They need to be clear to the reader. Assessment 2. This is a comparative presentation and it is worth 20% of your final grade. Your task is to compare and contrast the effectiveness of various legal and administrative instruments that have been used to acquire land and sea rights by Indigenous people. You will need to compare one example from Australia and one example from another country. You can choose any country you like. You must present this as a PowerPoint presentation and it must include accompanying text of about 1,000 words. If you would prefer to do an oral presentation or to do an essay instead of a PowerPoint presentation, you will need to let me know in advance so we can establish marking criteria and guidelines. I'm happy if students want to do an essay or an oral presentation instead of a PowerPoint presentation. You will need to ensure, however, that whatever text you include clearly responds to the task. Again, you must demonstrate that you have taken pride in your work, and of course you must demonstrate this by making sure your sentences are clear and are well connected. So don't have one sentence talking about something and then go straight into another sentence talking about something completely different without making the connections clear for the reader. Assessment 3. This is a report and is worth 50% of your overall grade. You must approach this report as if you were engaged by an Indigenous organisation to do so. You must select one of the topics covered from modules 5 to 8 to focus on. You must then provide an assessment on whether current state-funded Indigenous land and sea management policies and programs in Australia are meeting the needs of Indigenous people. As part of this report, you must include your own recommendations on how to improve these policies and programs. You must follow the standard report format. So if you are not familiar with the way reports are set out, have a look at some examples and use them as a guide. Make sure your argument and the information you provide is clear and easy for the reader to understand. Now, I want to talk about readings, okay? I expect you to do all of the readings for each week, okay? My advice is to sit down with an A4 exercise book, and as you read each article and chapter, make notes about them so you know exactly where they are, and you can come to class or put on discussion board on LearnLine whatever comments or discussions you want to thrash out. Okay, so for example, if we're talking about land rights, you could say that you read Smith, and on page 14 of Smith he makes the comment blah blah blah, for example. Okay, so that's a very easy way of managing your readings and managing the information you need when it comes to doing the assessments. Now, to begin, what I want you to do is watch the first video that appears on LearnLine. Watch that video, and then I'm going to ask you to respond to the questions that are connected to that video on LearnLine and in the unit outline. Okay? So have a look at that video and then make some comments. I want you to make at least 3 comments and put them on the discussion board based on what you got from the video. So after you have added your contribution to the discussion board, can you then read the flood reading and complete the activity for this reading? Please remember that there is no right or wrong answers to this activity. I want you to put your response to the activity in your own words, the way you see it. When you have finished this activity, you can put any other comments you like about the flood reading on the discussion board. Just put a heading on the discussion board so that we know what your comments are related to. For example, comments on Howard reading. If you have any questions about the unit, the assessments or readings, or need assistance with anything, please feel free to contact me by email, phone, or if you're a local student, you can make an appointment to come and see me. The first thing I want you to do is have a look at that video and then place some comments on LearnLine. Then I want you to do the flood reading, complete the activity associated with that, and then do the Howard reading and complete the activity associated with the Howard reading. Okay, so the activity is for the Howard reading, but I will also require you to do the flood reading. Sorry for any confusion there. So I think that's the best place to start. Thank you.